Okay, so Lab 2 here. For Lab 1, your assignment was to download ArcGIS Pro. And so now that we have it downloaded, we're going to open it up. So you could, depending on what software you have, I'm just going to go in here, type in ArcGIS Pro. There it is. I'll click on it. Few of you did end up using a Mac, and I guess Windows is installed on there, so this process should be somewhat similar. And I'm assuming that you all know how to open up a software package. So whatever way you're going to do it, let's open up ArcGIS Pro here. And so ESRI, which is they kind of have a monopoly on GIS software and widely used, widely available. And they every so often will have a major change. And the good news is you are going to be learning the new change, which is ArcGIS Pro, which is a major overhaul. The change has come from ArcGIS Desktop, which started back in the early 2000s, like maybe around 2000 even, so 20 years. So the good news is you're starting to learn a program that's probably going to be around for at least 20 years. The bad news is if you've already had a class or experience with GIS and Esri products, you probably didn't use ArcGIS Pro. So this is going to be new either way, probably. But the good news is once you learn it, you're going to be good to go. So now when I open it up, see, I have my own business, so I'm logged in now as with my business software, but I also have a Upper Iowa University account, but I'm not going to sign into it. But basically, to use this product, you need to sign in with those credentials that you used when I sent that email invite. So it could come up with asking you for your credentials to sign in. So that's what you'll use to sign in. So this should be the first screen that you see. And to do anything in ArcGIS Pro, you need, if you're going to start a new map, see, I've got recent projects here, things that I've been working on. Yours probably won't have recent projects because you just downloaded the software. But we're going to start with a new map. So click on Map. And the first thing it's going to do is ask you to create a project. So you can't, this is a new kind of concept to ArcGIS Pro. And so what you have to do here is you have to name it and tell it where you want to save things. So I would pick a folder here that you can access later. So click on this, navigate to somewhere on your C drive or whatever drive you have available or folder that you want. You can create a new folder. Let's see, new item folder. Call it whatever. Let me just do that real quick. So C, new folder. I'm going to call this Chad's GIS. You can call it whatever you want. And then I'm going to click on it once and hit OK. So right now, anything that I'm saving in this project it'll kind of default to Chad's GIS on the C drive. Now here we can get rid of my project 3 and call this, I'm just going to call it Lab 2. And hit OK. So now what it's doing is it automatically creates a Geodatabase in that folder. Now I know some of you may be familiar with some of the file formats of ArcGIS or Esri, and you may or may not have heard of a Geodatabase before. You probably heard of a shapefile before, or maybe not. Either way is fine. But shapefiles have been around since the 30, 40 years of Esri products. So shapefiles are popular. So what it did is it opened up now ArcGIS Pro, and it just kind of defaults to this map and to North America. Well, this area of the globe, North Central America here. So when mine started, it started on this insert tab. So there's tabs across the top, and this is called a ribbon here, and each of these is a tab. I think you're probably familiar with the concept of tabs from just using computers. But we're going to click on the Map tab, okay? And so again, I've been using this for a while, so mine might look a little different than yours. I've got a bunch of these things down here. Yours may not look exactly the same, but that's fine. But so click on the map tab, and okay, so nice thing about ArcGIS Pro, so we've got tabs across the top. The nice thing is it has built-in base maps, which the old ArcGIS desktop did not have. So if you click on the drop down for base maps, you can see you can change it to imagery with labels, a streets map, a topographic map, etc., etc. I'll point that out now. We'll leave it here at this moment. But another nice feature is this locate button. So let's click on that. And when you do that, this will pop up over here. These are called panes, and P-A-N-E. Now, this software may be a P-A-I-N sometimes. And I guarantee you before the end of this class, it will be a P-A-I-N when you're trying to do stuff. But these things are called a pane, P-A-N-E. And this is the locate pane. So it comes up with a search here. You can type in whatever you want. I'm going to type in Fayette, Iowa. And it comes up with some options, county, whatever. We're going to just go with the top one, Fayette, Iowa, USA. And when you click on it, it zooms in. So here we are, Fayette. Now let's go back over to the base map. Click it down. Let's do just imagery. So it brings in, a current image for Fayette, this is very handy, I think, because with the old software, you had to bring in these base maps. You had to go find them and bring them in for your area of interest. Here, they're already supplied, which is very nice, I think. And so they show up over here in your contents area. This is similar. You did have a contents in the old software if you're used to that. But here, you're showing you only have one layer in this map right now called World Imagery. So if you change it to streets, this changes to World Street Map. Okay, and you can turn it off and on. And so that's kind of handy to be able to change these base maps. I'm going to change it back to, I always like the imagery with labels. So I can, see things, but I also can, see like, oh, okay, well, here's Fayette, it's labeled. If I go down here, I can see, oh, there's the Grandview Cemetery, that sort of thing. So I kind of like the imagery with labels, but you may find a base map that you like. Now, simple things like panning, zooming in and out is done with this Explore button, like in this Navigate section. Okay, so each of these, if I'm on, let's say you accidentally click Analysis, okay, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I know there was an Explore Navigate section up here with Explore tools. Where'd that go? These change with each tab that you click. So if you're like, oh, where'd that go? That tool's gone. Oh yeah, okay, it's on the Map tab. So you have to go back to the Map tab. By the way, I have two cats, and one of them really wants attention right now. So if you hear noises and meows in the background, that's what you're hearing. So, okay, so on this Explore tab here, if you hover your mouse over it, you can see some kind of cool little tricks here on how to zoom in and zoom out. You can use the wheel on your mouse, which is what I'm doing right now. If you want to use a zoom rectangle, you hold down the shift key on your computer. See when I hold down the shift key, what happens with my here? Shift, and you get a zoom in. You can drag a rectangle around Fayette. So I would recommend messing around with this. There's a fixed zoom in, fixed zoom out. There's a zoom full extent. I wouldn't do that now because that's going to take you clear out. You probably are familiar with the concept bookmarks. That means if you are, let's say you're doing some things around campus here, you're working in this area a lot and you're working over here a lot, you can do a bookmark which will quickly bring you back and forth to these. They kind of if you think about a bookmark in a book, they'll find your place for you. Okay, this is handy. So if you have a coordinate, you can click go to XY, and down here you can fill in the latitude and longitude, and you can change whether it's decimal degrees, decimal minutes, that sort of thing, which is kind of nice. And then your add data button is, you're probably familiar with that from the old ArcGIS. And again, if you haven't used GIS before, that's fine. But this is where you can bring in new data sets like shape files and other GIS layers. Okay. And so some of these things will look familiar if you've used it before. Some of them won't. You can select features. So if we had a vector, point, line, or polygon shapefile or geodatabase feature layer in here, we could select certain features here. And sorry, cat was meowing again. In query, you can measure distances. You click on that. And you can change. So I won't get into this right now. You're in a short amount of distance here, so you can just keep it the way it is, but you can change your units if you want to go from metric to feet. Click from here to here, and it tells you how many feet. You can change it to meters at any time, that sort of thing. So why don't you take some time and just kind of go through, for sure, this map tab right now. So I'm going to stop the video here, or hit pause on my end, and then I want you to take some time to kind of mess around with this just a little bit, okay? And then I'll come back. It'll be instantaneous because I'm going to come right back, but take some time now to push pause and mess around with these a little bit. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully you just push pause and kind of looked around here. So I'm not going to be able to go through, I'm not going to go through all of these on the map tab, and a lot of this stuff, I mean, I can show you certain things, but really this kind of software and work you kind of figure out on your own as you get going here. So hopefully that little pause there time helped you become a little bit more familiar with some of the things that are on this map tab. Click on the View tab, and then click on Catalog Pane. So you can see there, Pane, the catalog pane. So it pops up over here. So we were on the locate pane. Now it went to the catalog pane. If we want to get back to the locate pane, we can either click here, or there's various ways you can get there, but there's little tabs down here as well. Now I've got a lot open because, again, I've been using this for a while. You're probably going to have locate and catalog. Okay, so if you've used ArcGIS Desktop before, you know that there was ArcMap, ArcCatalog, ArcToolbox. Well, that is no longer a deal. It's all inside ArcGIS Pro now. All the catalog, the tools from the toolbox, the mapping, it's all in one deal now called ArcGIS Pro. So we clicked on catalog. Let's click on this little side triangle for folders, and there's our Lab 2 folder. Now, if you click on the little side triangle for that one, so this is what the folder we created when we started this. You can see that there's already stuff in here that we did not create. It created it automatically. So like I said earlier, when you start a project, it automatically creates a geodatabase. And so a geodatabase is just it's a container of layers. It's a way to organize your layers, either vector or raster layers, which you should, from week 1, you should be familiar with vector, points, lines, and polygons, and rasters, which are grids. I'm going to point out that the screen recording software that I'm using, I'm using the free version of it, and it only lets me record for 15-minute increments. And right now we're heading up to 15 minutes. And so at every 15 minutes, it might start getting weird, and I might have to hit pause in what I'm saying and start creating a new video. So I'm going to start creating a new video now because we're heading at 15 minutes, and then but it'll be seamless for you. Okay, so let's talk. This is the new video, by the way. Not so seamless. So let's talk about these file types here. So if you see, they color code them here in Esri does in ArcGIS. The same with ArcGIS Desktop as in ArcGIS Pro. Any file that you see in the catalog that has this gray color is related to a geodatabase. Okay. Any color that you see that is green is related to a shapefile. So shapefiles are kind of your basic vector GIS layer. Okay, it can never be a raster. You can never have a grid raster shapefile. A shapefile is always a vector file, which means that it's a point, a line, or a polygon file, and it can't be more than one. You can't have a shapefile that has points and lines in it, or lines and polygons. You get it. And so for shapefiles, again, the color is green. So if you see green, then you know in catalog. You're not going to see this in Windows Explorer, only in ArcGIS catalog, which, by the way, the catalog is kind of like your Windows Explorer folders in the Windows environment. Okay, so if you see this icon in the green, that means it's a line shapefile. If you see these three dots, that means it's a point shapefile. If you see this right here, it means it's a polygon shapefile. If you see this, it means it's just a table with no associated geographic features. Okay, it's just a table like you would see in Excel. And actually, shapefiles use the .dbf that you might be familiar with in Excel. That's what they use for their databases. So in order to bring in a shapefile, by the way, you need a minimum of 3 extensions. Okay, you need this .shp extension, you need a .dbf extension, which you don't see here, which would be something like this, and you need a .shx. And the shape is the actual point, line, or polygon. The dbf is the attributes, and the shx is the index that connects the shapes to the table, which is what the basis of GIS is, right? It's attributes or tables hooked up to features. So the where and the what. And so you need a minimum of those 3 files to open up a shapefile. So if somebody sends you a shapefile and it doesn't have this .shp, a .dbf, and a .shx, you're not going to be able to open it. Another file that's optional but is nice is one called a .prj, and that's your projection file that will tell ArcGIS where to put the features on the Earth, the projection of the data, the coordinate system. Okay, so green shapefile. This is a geodatabase. So in ArcGIS Pro, when you start a new project, it automatically creates a geodatabase, which is this gray container here. And whatever you called your project is what's going to be the name here. Now, inside a geodatabase, a geodatabase is kind of a newer concept with ArcGIS, and you can think of it as a container, like this thing, full of layers that you can organize. So if you see these 3 little squares here, that is a feature data set, okay? And you can have more than one feature data set inside a geodatabase. So one might be called to organize. So one might be, let's say you're a city, and you have a geodatabase. One is your sewer system. One is your wastewater. Same thing. Sorry. Sewer system. One is your drinking water, something like that. Okay, sorry. But just kind of a collection of layers here, right? And inside a feature data set are feature layers, okay? And you notice here, this is gray and this is green, but they both have the same little shape and icon inside it. That means this is a line feature layer. This is a point feature layer. This is a polygon feature layer. Just like this is a point shapefile, this is a polygon shapefile, and this is a line shapefile. Okay, so we'll deal more with geodatabases later and shapefiles, but this is kind of an introduction. The other cool thing about geodatabases is you can come up with relationship rules between these, so that you can say real world type situations where, this a certain type of fitting can only fit on a certain type of distribution main and that sort of thing. Okay, so back here in ArcGIS Pro, you can see the gray container, right? So we have a geodatabase. You can also see .gdb, which will tell you that's a geodatabase. And it was automatically created when we created the project. So again, the catalog pane is kind of your Windows Explorer of ArcGIS, and it kind of organizes things nicely and gives you these nice little icons to help you out and make things smoother. So again, if you need the catalog pane, you can't find it, you can go to the view menu here, catalog pane, and there it is. And so there's nothing, we don't have anything inside it right now because we haven't created anything yet. So as you can see here, I've zoomed into the football field here. So again, I don't know, wherever you're at, you've been messing around with it. Obviously, I have been too. So let's go in down here to the football field, right? And so, or wherever, if you're somewhere else, that's fine too. But maybe you're not even in Fayette. Maybe you chose somewhere else. That's fine. If you did, you might want to go to Fayette though, because we're going to be doing some things here with coordinate systems that will be more helpful if you're in Fayette. So here we are in the football field. Notice down here we have coordinates. Now yours is probably decimal degrees. Okay, it's going to look like this. So you're learning about coordinate systems. This is latitude and longitude. So latitude and longitude is a geographic coordinate system that covers the entire globe. And as we move our mouse around, we can see kind of handy that you can find out. So if we wanted the center of the field, we could find the latitude and longitude of the center of the field. So if you wanted to give somebody a GPS point, they want to know, you're working for the DNR or whoever, and they say, hey, I want to go out to that spot you were telling me about with the, where you saw the, I'm trying to think of a DNR scenario here, where you saw the fish kill, the river. So there was a big fish kill from whatever occurrence. Where was that spot at? And then you can get on your computer, put the mouse right over in the spot in the river and say, okay, it's at this coordinate. They can take their GPS out in the field and follow to that coordinate. Okay, I should have had a better example ready for that, but that's the best I came up with. Okay, so if you want to change coordinate systems, you can here. So when I started here, I was on UTM, or I had it on meters actually, but these are UTM coordinates. Okay, so either way, you can leave it decimal degrees, minutes, seconds, however you want it. Well, let's go back up here and let's create a new shapefile. Okay, if I want to create a new shapefile, I go up to my folder that I want to put it in. I right-click, go to New, and Shapefile, and you can see it's a green empty thing because it doesn't know if it's going to be a point line or polygon shapefile yet. So we click on it, and it's going to bring up the geoprocessing pane, P-A-N-E, pane. This could be a P-A-I-N too. Okay, that joke's getting old. Okay, so feature class location, this is where we're putting it. We could call it, let's call it football, and this is important. So pay it if you're ignoring me on certain things, pay attention to this part. And by the way, I don't blame you. Football, don't put a space. Don't do football field like this with a space in it. You never want to put a space in anything you're naming in ArcGIS. That includes project names, folder names, file names. Never put a space. Instead, put an underscore. Don't even use a dash like that or something that looks like a slash like that. Put an underscore if you want to separate it. Or you can just not put any space at all. It's up to you. I'm going to keep mine like that. We're going to do a polygon geometry type. So again, this is a vector shapefile. So, you have a point line or polygon. We're going to do a polygon. And then we can kind of leave this stuff blank for now, but we do want to put in the coordinate system. So let's click on select coordinate system, which is this little globe here. And as I mentioned, latitude and longitude is a geographic coordinate system because that means it covers the entire globe, whereas a projected coordinate system usually is a smaller portion, just covers a smaller portion of the Earth, and is usually much more accurate. So we're going to use a projected coordinate system, and we're going to go down to UTM, Universal Transverse Mercator. And we're in North America, so we need to pick a datum. This NAD stands for North American Datum of 1983. Because this has been updated from 27, this one is going to be more accurate. So we're going to use this one, and then we're going to go down to Zone 15 North, because that's Iowa and Fayette in particular. Most of Iowa is in 15 North. Fayette is definitely in 15 North. So we'll click OK. It pops up down here, and then we hit run. And then if you notice, it shows up over here now in our contents. Okay. Now if we go back to the catalog, so you can either go down here to catalog, or again, you can go to the view menu, catalog pane. Now if we look over here, we can see we have a green polygon shapefile in our lab 2. Okay, now I'm going to open up Windows Explorer, and I'm going to go to our folder here. No, what did I call it? I called it Chad's GIS, didn't I? Okay, so lab 2. Now if you look in here, let's kind of see if I can get both of these going here at the same time. If I look in Windows Explorer, we're kind of viewing the same thing here, right? You see football field now has, in here it just gives you one nice little thing that shows you what it is. But in reality, in the background, there's all these files that are associated with it. And so, again, to share a shapefile, you need to, when you're going to send it to somebody, you need to include this SHP, you need to include this DBF, and you need to include this SHX. So again, this is the shape, the geography, the polygons. This is the attributes, the table, and this is the index that connects the two. Now, you can also include this projection, which will tell it, for the person who's going to use it on their end, that it's in UTM's NAD83, and it'll automatically help plop it in better for on their end. Now, if you have these other ones, you can go ahead and include them too, but they are optional. And I'm not going to get into what they are right now. Other than these two right here are telling me that this is locked right now because I'm using it. It's in ArcGIS Pro right now. We're using it. In fact, if I go over a little bit here, you see how it says lock file. If you ever see this, that means that you currently have it open and you're using it, which kind of prevents you from sharing it and that sort of thing. Okay, so back here. Let's go ahead and create a new polygon. So in order to do that, we need to click on the Edit button up here. Edit, and then Create. Okay, so you have, instead of the Map tab, we're clicked on the Edit tab, and then we clicked on the Create button. Now you see a new pane over here, Create Features, and then you see only football field shows up because we can't add data to the base map. And by the way, this one is just the labels. And so football field, because we chose the base map image with labels. This is the image, this is the labels, or vice versa, sorry. Okay, so in order to create a feature, we need to click on the football field over here and create features. And then click on create a polygon feature. So we clicked on football field, and then this button here, the first one, we click on that, right? Now we can start, this is called heads up digitizing, which is just, we're digitizing a polygon based off a base map photograph. So you can zoom in as close as you want, make this as accurate as you want. Click once, left click once, left click once, left click once, and then when you're happy with what you got, right click, and wait a second for a menu to pop up, and watch the little circle there, and then let it go black, let it do all kinds of stuff like that. What's going on here, folks? There we go. I had to right click again. I don't know what happened the first time. But when you right click, this pops up, and then you just, in this case, you could hit square and finish to make it a nice rectangle, or just hit finish. Either one will work. Okay, so now we have our one football field feature. And when it has this blue outline on it, that means it's selected. It's currently selected. And so you see this select here. It's also available on the map tab, select. That means that feature is now currently selected. We're just going to create that one feature, so we're done with that one. Let's go ahead and hit the save button on the edit tab. So again, if you don't see the save button, that's probably because you're not on the edit tab. So click on the edit tab, hit save. Do you want to save? You sure you want to save? Yes, we're sure. Okay, so now if we don't want this selected anymore, we can right click over here, go to selection, clear selection. Now it's not outlined in blue anymore. So if you see something that's outlined in blue, that means it's a feature that's selected. You've selected it. And to clear that, you can right click again, selection, clear selection. Now it doesn't give me any options because we don't have anything selected anymore. Right click is kind of your friend in ArcGIS. Okay. Speaking of that, let's right click again. No, first let me show you something. So watch this, okay? I'm going to take football field and drag it under world imagery here. Hey, where'd our polygon go, man? Right? The drawing order is going to affect what you see. Drawing order in your contents. So if you're like, hey man, where'd my thing go? It disappeared. It's gone. Then could be a PAIN, and you're mad and you're like, I just did all that work and digitized all that stuff and it's gone. Check your drawing order, right? Because if it's underneath an image, you're not going to see it unless you turn off the image, right? Off and on. But we want ours on top of it, so we're going to drag it back on top. Okay, so now right-click on football field, or whatever you called it, and go to Attribute Table. So again, this is what's cool about GIS. It's not just one of the many things that are cool about GIS, is it's not just a map with features, there's also data behind it, right? And that's the Attribute Table. So this is the DBF, basically, part of it. And it automatically starts you out with 3 fields in the table: a feature ID, a shape, and an ID. You can't mess with this one. You can mess with these two, and you can also add attributes. So let's do that. Let's click on Add, and it brings this up. And let's just put it, let's just make it name. Okay, so the field name is going to be name. The data type, so if you've taken a database class, first of all, hit enter, or it's not going to let you go to the next thing. This is, data types, right? Where this is going to be text. And then go ahead and go up here and hit save. And it's for some reason taking a long time to apply the changes. Okay, then we're going to click out of that. And if we go back now to our attributes, you see we have one called name. And so we can type in UIU field or something like that. Say we were going to do multiple football fields across Iowa. So again, there you go with the attribute table. GIS, you have features hooked up to tables. So not only the where, but what. You can put in attributes about those features in a table. So we're coming up on the 15-minute mark here again. So I'm going to have to hit pause, and we'll start with the next video. Okay, so we've got our name here, UI field, and again, maybe we were going to go and put in all the football fields of Iowa or something. We're going to name them here. So that's how you can create a new field in your table by go back here to. So now since we were on the Edit tab, let's go back to the Map tab, and let's click out of the attribute table here. And okay, so there's our field, and so if you remember, let's click back on the Map tab here. Okay, so we've created one polygon feature in our new shapefile, and we now want to let's say we want to print this out. We want to create a new, we want to map with a north arrow, legend, scale, all that stuff. So if you worked with ArcGIS Desktop, the old version, there were two buttons down here to go from map view to layout view. Well, that's kind of moved up here now. We're in map view. So in map view, we can draw and create new features, do analysis, interact with the data, that sort of thing. But in a layout, that's where you're going to create a map to print. So let's go to the Insert tab. So we're up here again, Insert, and let's create a new layout. So we'll click on the New Layout button. And here's how you can set up, if you're going to print out a big map, a little map, letter, portrait, all that stuff. We'll click letter this time, 8.5 by 11. And so now you see we have two tabs here, a map tab and a layout tab. And you can have more than one map and more than one layout. That's something new too with ArcGIS Pro. And you can rename these too, by the way. So if you want to call this one, if I click on map and I go over here and click on that, I can call this football map. I said no spaces. In this case, it's fine, but I'm gonna do that just because I want to stay. I want to get you in the habit of not putting in spaces. So now you see this is the football map. So maybe you wanted to do baseball fields over here and you wanted a separate map for that. You could do baseball maps over here, and to do that, up here on the Insert tab, you would just go to New Map. I'm not going to do that now, though. So let's go back to our Layout tab. Now, in here, we want to put our map in here, right? So let's go to the Map Frame button, because maybe we did create that baseball field, right? And we want to tell it which maps we want to put into this thing. So we go to the drop down, and there's our football map, because that's the only one we have. So we click on that, and let's say we want it like somewhere in here. So we draw a rectangle. And there we go. There's so we're getting this ready to print out, right? And so up here we can also do things like a north arrow. If you click the drop down, you get options. So maybe you prefer that kind of north arrow or this kind of north arrow. Whatever one you want to pick, you can click on it. And then wherever you drag your rectangle, that's where your north arrow is going to go. And then you can move it around, put it on your map if you want to. The scale bar, so you can show your feet and meters. So again, click the drop down. You have an option between imperial units or metric units. Imperial just means feet or English units. and inches, feet, miles, etc. Metric system. Um, and then if you want a legend, that sort of thing, you can insert text for a title, put it across the top. I'm going to have you to turn in. I'm going to have you do this on your own. So it's not that hard. So once you're at this point, you've got this map. This is going to be something you're going to turn in. So have what I want on this page is the map with your feature that you created. I want a north arrow wherever you want to put it. I want a title up here. Again, you can add text. I want a scale bar, which you can put anywhere you want. You can put any of this stuff anywhere you want. And to be honest with you, with GIS, my least favorite part is making maps and making them look nice. I like the analysis part of it. I like this being over here on this thing. And we're just kind of scratching the surface on what we're doing here, but you can do all kinds of stuff over here. And then it's like, okay, you did all this cool stuff over here. Now I got to share it. Okay. So then you go over here. Oh, I got a north area. Okay, whatever. Some people are better at this. Some people like doing this part more, and they're more kind of aesthetically driven and all that stuff. Whatever. So create a north arrow, a scale bar, a legend, and a title. And then once you've got all that stuff in here, you're going to share it with me. And so to do that, you're going to click on the Share tab up here. So you're on the Insert tab, or we are right now currently. We're going to click on the Share tab. And for some reason, my computer, okay, there we go. And so once you click on the Share tab, there's lots of different ways you can share it. You can just straight out print it, but we're going to export it. Okay, so go to Export Layout. So again, this is once you have this to the point that that you want to share it with me. You've got your north arrow, legend, all that stuff. And so when you click on the Layout Export button, this Export Layout pops up over here. Okay. You can decide what you want to do it as. You can save it as a JPEG, a PDF. Don't save as any of these other things. JPEG or PDF. This is where you're going to save it, so make sure you've got that right. Now, this is an old. For me, it's going to an old folder that I was saving stuff in. We don't want to put it there, so we want to go to the C drive. You're going to put it wherever you saved your project, or wherever you know where you can find it, and call it whatever you want. Don't mess with that .jpeg part, obviously. Call it lab2 map, whatever you want to call it. Leave the .jpeg, save, and make sure, okay, that's where it's going. You can mess with the whatever you want to do with the compression, whether you want it high quality, low quality, how many dots per inch, all that stuff, and then hit export. And right now it is exporting a JPEG to my folder of my map. And then once you do that, that'll be something you'll attach for Lab 2. So part of what you're going to add for Lab 2 is a map that shows that you have digitized in a feature with a north arrow, title, a scale, and a legend. Okay. And I'm going to let you kind of, so I give you lots of instruction, but I'm also going to leave certain parts, where it might be where the PAIN comes in. And you can, of course, email me if the PAIN ever becomes, capital letter with lots of exclamation points on the end of it. PAIN, exclamation point, exclamation point. If you're getting exclamation points on your PAIN, then by all means email me. But I think this is kind of straightforward back here with your legend. So, by the way, when you switch between these tabs here, it changes what's up here. So sometimes, in this case, it's not doing it. And let me tell you this, while we're on the subject of this, ArcGIS Pro is new. Okay, I've been using ArcGIS Desktop for 20 years, um, and that software I could run in my sleep. Okay, um, this one I'm going to tell you right now, I don't even, I'm just still learning it. Um, and so I'm not going to, every time I'm not going to know exactly, right where to go for certain things either. So, but I do know that sometimes when you can't, when these look different here, you might have to switch between these. Okay. Um, all right. So now we have a new feature. If we go back to the catalog, so I'm going to do it by going down here. See what I'm doing down here, catalog. The other way you can get to it is by going to View, Catalog pane. And so now we have the football field here, okay? I want you now to do the same thing, except for I don't want it to be the same type of feature. I don't want it to be, if you did exactly what I did here and you did a polygon feature, I want you to do the same thing again, and it doesn't have to be in Fayette. It can be something that you're interested in wherever you live, in your hometown, a different state, whatever it might be. You might have to look up to see what UTM zone you're in. Most of you are from Iowa, I think. So UTM zone 15. But do the same thing, but don't choose polygon this time. Choose line or choose points. So obviously, if you're going to choose a line, then it's to be based on what you want to map. If you're going to choose points, the same thing. So let's say you wanted to map in trees somewhere. Then choose points, and you can click, you want to create again a new shapefile called trees or whatever it might be. Click points, you put in your coordinate zone, click in, start heads up digitizing your points by going up to edit, create, click points, and add in, a couple of lines or a couple of points, or if you did points or lines the first time, then a polygon, but something different than you did on this first map. And then create another map that has this second thing that you're doing. Okay, so for the lab 2, what you're going to turn in is this map that we just discussed, another map and you can either do it on this same one, or you can go to insert new map and see how you start all over again, but you can still go back here, right? You can do it either way. You can do it on here, or you can go here. Create a new shapefile, again in the catalog area. Put in your points or lines or whatever it's going to be, then create another layout. So again, you can go new layout, whatever. And then this time, when you do the map frame, put in your other map onto that layout. And so you're going to turn in 2 maps. The second one that you're going to do, that's based on totally flexible on what you put in, points or lines or whatever, but it should be different than what you did on this one. And I want you to turn in those 2 things, and then I want you to get into Microsoft Word and write out, it's just a paragraph of what you learned, anything that was confusing to you, maybe feedback on these videos. Say, hey, dude, you are talking way too fast, man. That's fine with me. Feedback on the videos is good. You're moving around too quick. I've had a couple cups of coffee after I did this, so I'm zooming. So just a paragraph on Lab 2 and the 2 maps, which should either be a JPEG or a PDF, and you can go back and kind of rewind the video to remind you how to make maps or create shape files and all that sort of thing. So that's what you're going to turn in for Lab 2. Um, 2 maps and a paragraph in Microsoft Word. If you have any questions, be sure to email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So hopefully this Lab 2 is helpful, and let me know. Hopefully it wasn't a PAIN. Okay, I swear, Lab 3, you're not gonna. That joke is gone. No more PAIN stuff or PANE.